There are some new images and details for Joker 2 thanks to a recently published article by Empire magazine here in the UK. We got an interview with director Todd Phillips and stars Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, where they talk about the approach to this new film, the musical aspects, new details about the characters and story, and much more surrounding the filmmaking process. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing the images and details shared, breaking down all the newest info. Before I get into it though, if you want to see much more videos on Joker 2 leading up to its release date, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's discuss the new images and details for Joker Folie à Deux. So the new edition of Empire magazine has provided us with new images and interviews for Todd Phillips' highly anticipated Joker sequel. The new article details a world-exclusive dive into Joker Folie à Deux with the director and crew. The issue has two front covers, with the first being the standard cover that sees Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga in costume as Joker and Harley Quinn. The one I received was the subscriber cover, which features new stunning artwork of the two characters, described on Empire's article as a haunting dual portrait of Arkham's ultimate power couple, complete with a crimson clown smile. Inside, there's also new images featured, which includes a few of Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga in makeup at Arthur Fleck's trial, a few behind-the-scenes moments with director Todd Phillips and his actors, a few shots of Arthur Fleck at Arkham, both laughing and breaking into song and dance, the character further doing a TV interview with Steve Coogan's TV host Paddy Myers, and a shot of what looks to be Fleck and Quinzel breaking out of the asylum. I will show these images on screen again throughout the descriptions of the interviews that took place. But now that the intro is out the way, let's get into the extended details and all of the most interesting things that were mentioned in this new article. It starts off with director Todd Phillips being asked about the media reaction to the first film, in that the original Joker might have spurred on mass shootings and attacks at screenings. He said at the time that this was nonsense and no one expected Joker, a character study on a $55 million budget, to have the reverse effect that it did. He also said there were a lot of doubters, and I'm not talking about people on the internet, I'm talking about the studio. It was a different regime running WB at that time, a different regime running DC. There were a million reasons why they kept saying absolutely not. So that feeling of satisfaction of proving people wrong, that personally felt great. And it seems like he's aiming to do that again, as the director talked about taking another big risk and only moving forward with it after the ideas put down provided dangerous possibilities. He said, "The only reason Joaquin would even do a sequel is if it felt frightening to him. One thing he really got off on the first movie was this fear every day, this nauseous fear of like, what the F are we doing? He did not want it to be easy, and he wanted to feel as scared on this one. He went, well, if I'm gonna do it, I just want to feel that it could not work." Joaquin added to the interview himself by saying, "It's the only way that I can do any movie. If it doesn't feel dangerous, if there's not a good chance that you're gonna fail, then what's the point?" Director Todd Phillips expanded on this and went on to say that he has issue with the film being labelled a sequel. He said, "I don't think of it as a sequel, Hangover 2 was a sequel. So often a sequel is more of the same, just bigger. Of course, Joker 2 is labelled a sequel, but it felt like we were making something entirely different. It's tonally and inherently something way more different. The first one subverted the expectations of what it was, so how do you do that again?" Joaquin and I talked about another one the whole time while we were making the first one, just because we loved the character. We were obsessed with Arthur, we would almost joke about it, oh, we should take Arthur and we should do this. This is not a layup sequel, and that makes it really exciting for us. And Phoenix added to this by saying that the ideas were always intentionally bonkers. He said, "I had a curiosity about going further with the character. It felt like you could put him into almost any situation, and I would be interested to see how he would navigate it. I mocked up all of these posters of films that had already been made, like Rosemary's Baby and The Godfather, and I put Joker in them and I gave them to Todd. There was a running joke of, what about Joker in space? But yeah, I was fascinated by where he would end up." So although Joker Folie à Deux picks up right after the events of Joker 2019, with Arthur Fleck being sent to Arkham following his infamous on-air murder of chat show host Murray Franklin, Todd Phillips prefers not to label it as a conventional sequel. And this is where the director and the actor mention that the film won't show Joker becoming the clown prince of crime. Phillips said, "We would never do that, because Arthur clearly is not a criminal mastermind, he was never that. Arthur has become this symbol to people, this unwilling, unwitting symbol, now paying for the crimes of the first film, but at the same time finding the only thing he ever wanted, which was love. That's always what he's been about, even though he's been pushed and pulled in all these directions. So we tried to just make the most pure version of that. This is more about what Joker means to everyone else." The article mentions that his lawyer in the film, Mary Ann Stewart, played by Catherine Keener, believes that his abusive childhood has resulted in a split personality, with his shadow self being responsible for the murders. She hopes that the jury will find him not guilty by reason of insanity and that they'll put him in an actual hospital. Another key moment in the film that's mentioned in the article, while it talks about other new characters, is that TV interview with Steve Coogan's TV host Paddy Myers. Phillips and his co-writer modelled the host and interview on Geraldo Rivera and Tom Snyder, who both interviewed Charles Manson in jail in the 80s, and the scene takes place in Arkham as Arthur is awaiting trial. As we saw in the trailer, it looks like Arthur breaks out into dance during this sequence, so we can expect the world to see a glimpse of the madness that Arthur can't keep locked away. Todd Phillips said, "Arthur grew up hearing his mother play these songs on the radio, he's not a singer, and he shouldn't sound like a professional singer. He should sound like somebody that's taking a shower and just bursts out into song." Joaquin also mentioned that he remembers the first time Lady Gaga heard him sing on set and said, "I do seem to remember her spitting up coffee the first time I sang, so that felt good, that was exciting, and made me feel confident." Gaga was always very encouraging of just go with what you feel, it's fine. For somebody who's not a performer in that way, it can be uncomfortable to do that, but also very exciting. And this brings us to the portion of the interview with Gaga herself, talking about her character and what she had to do while playing the role. Empire's article states that Gaga's character Lee resides at Arkham, where Arthur catches a glimpse of her singing for the first time. She's the product of a horrendous childhood and tells Arthur that she was inspired by his killing of Murray Franklin. Like Joker's take on Arthur, Lee is a very real-world version of Harley Quinn. Phillips said, "While there are some things that people would find familiar in her, it's really Gaga's own interpretation, and Scott Silver and I's interpretation too. She became the way how Manson had girls that idolized him, the way that sometimes these imprisoned murderers have people that look up to them. There are things about Harley in the movie that were taken from the comic books, but we took it and molded it to the way we wanted it to be." Gaga then talked about the genre of the film, saying, "It's not one kind of genre, this movie, it's a psychological thriller, it's a drama, it's a tragedy. It would be hard for me not to say that it has some comedy in it as well, because I think it's very funny. And it uses music in this extremely nuanced and particular way. I could see the needle that they were trying to thread when I read the script." Hilda Guadagnino, the Oscar-winning composer of the first film, further gave her thoughts on the musical influence as well. She said, "It's a really bold, surprising decision to lean so heavily on the musical side of things, but also somehow a natural progression. It was clear to me from the get-go that we needed to somehow marry the score and the songs, because just like Arthur's character is a split personality, so these sound worlds are slightly, in their essence, split personalities." Todd Phillips went on to say that Hilda's score and arrangements of songs impacted the performances they got in front of the camera. The big example given was Gaga herself, who states that the film's song and dance numbers required her to recalibrate the way she sung. She said, "People know me by my stage name, that's me as a performer, but that is not what this movie is. I'm playing a character. So I worked a lot on the way that I sang to come from Lee and to not come from me as a performer. How do you take music and have it just be an extension of the dialogue as opposed to breaking into song for no conceivable reason? It was unlike anything I'd ever done before. Even my breathing was different when I sung as Lee. When I breathe to sing on stage, I have this very controlled way to make sure that I'm on pitch and it's sustained at the right rhythm and amount of time, but Lee would never know how to do any of that. So it's like removing the technicality of the whole thing, removing my perceived art form from it all, and completely being inside of who she is. Something interesting that Empire notes in their article is that the way the characters sing in the film challenges the perception of it being a musical project. They say that there's no dancing in the streets, routines, or group choreography. Only Arthur and Lee sing in their own unique, unpolished ways. Phillips said, "It's not like we ever thought we were making a musical in the way of, say, Chicago. It was meant to feel left-footed in places." The interview then comes to a close with Phillips reiterating the risks being taken on the project and also making a brief mention of the role from Harvey Dent in the film too. Todd said, "The fact that the assistant district attorney is making the case against Arthur in court is a great way to introduce that we're still in Gotham." I do have a video coming in the next week or so talking about a theory I have for these scenes with Harvey Dent, and I think the outcome of it is actually quite interesting. But back to the article, as Empire states, these scenes with Arthur in court have an absurdity and perversity to them that can be took from the comics out of respect. But it makes clear in that the film being set largely in both a hospital and a courthouse with song and dance numbers in between, that like the first film, it'll definitely be a different kind of comic book project. Joaquin supports this argument, saying that Todd is very comfortable taking risks. He's willing to try things and he will absolutely experiment. And the director followed this by saying, "I always said early on that this film should feel as if it were made by crazy people, like the inmates running the asylum. It does feel like a big swing. You just go, well, F it, why not? What are we doing here if not to do that?" So I guess we'll see if Joker Folie à Deux can deliver on these promises of a unique approach. And I must admit, everything they say in this article does get me excited to see how they'll approach those musical aspects and what the overall thematic of the film is, building on from the end of 2019's original Joker. But they were the main images and details released from the new Empire edition of Todd Phillips' Joker 2. I'm interested to hear what you guys think towards the new images and details provided, alongside what personally excites you the most about Phillips' upcoming film. So let me know down below in the comments section. For more videos surrounding Todd Phillips' Joker 2 leading up to its release date, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, rating, and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.